Hi, welcome back to another edition of Dallas Digital Marketing Talk with your host, Christopher Williams, Celebrity Brand Manager and Digital Marketing Facilitator. Today, we're going to have a special guest, Rich Weinman, industry veteran, also CEO tycoon of mechanical architecture and engineering. So please tune in and let's talk digital.
Hello.
Well. Welcome back to Dallas Digital Marketing Talk. I'm your host, Celebrity Brand Manager Christopher Tiptoe Williams. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have a wow, how can I say this, man? This is odd and this is legendary. Today we have the former president of Frontier Entertainment, industry icon, also the CEO of Arcade Weinman and Associates, and he's also very influential in hip hop. I mean, Rich Weinman, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up. Rich Weinman, what's going on, sir? How you doing?
Hey, good afternoon. Hi, Christopher. Thank you for having me.
Hey, I didn't want to give away all the goods, so that's why I didn't want to just say everything that you've done. But we just want to thank
Sure.
you for joining us, skyping in on Dallas Digital Marketing Talk. It is an absolute pleasure. I've had the opportunity to grow up watching some of the things that you helped to manifest in hip hop, and also to see some of the things that you've done dealing with mechanical construction and the new era that we're living in this digital era. So, without further ado, Rich, we just want you to tell the people a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what you do, sir.
Okay. Hi, everyone from Tahiti to Tennessee. Hello, hello. Uh, my name is Rich Wyman. I was born in the Bronx. I worked in Manhattan most of my life, and right now I reside in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And my history in the music industry goes way back, I would say, oh God, way back to the late 70s,
Don't tell your
late
age.
70s, and I got into the industry in 1980, about 83, and the way I my path, my journey, I think is a pretty unique one. When I graduated high school, uh, the year after I graduated, the drinking age went down to 18, so that permitted us to go out to clubs, and I'd
Awesome.
never been into a club, and I really didn't know I had the beat in me, if you would. I was growing up. I was a wrestler, very much into sports. But here it is, graduating high school, first year of college. We're going in these clubs, and I'm exposed to this music, and it's fascinating me. I'm just digging the beat, and it's just really fascinating me on how the DJ is putting the music together and creating sets and just moving the crowd. And I really fell into that pretty heavy. And so I became a DJ, started out in Florida. I found my way to Florida when I was about 22. And when I got down there, I started DJing in a very small club, and I had a couple of great mentors and tutors. And eventually, and I spun from 1978 to 1982 in Florida, Daytona Beach, and Orlando.
Nice.
And it's so funny. I remember getting to Daytona Beach, late 70s, and I really didn't know what I was going to do, and I hooked up to this guy who was a local DJ, said, "Hey, why don't you get into this?" And, about right there, I was like, anything to make money. I got to eat. I'm
Yeah,
in a new place,
of course.
making new friends. And so I started my DJing career above a liquor store in a topless biker lounge in Daytona Beach.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, and then eventually, through mentoring and people helping me and, building relationships in the Daytona community, getting known, getting credibility on the street, people getting to know me.
Wow.
To make a long story short, I ended up on the spinning at the number one club in Daytona Beach back in 1980. We were the first club to have MTV spring breaks at our club. It
Wow.
was called the Plantation Club, and then it was huge. I mean, we were catering to spring break, and it was my name was on the radio every day, four times a day,
That's
And
cool.
it was just really a great experience, and the people I met. And when I was spinning, I didn't say one word. The only thing I would say is last call, because I was so into the production and the mixing of the music. And then I found my taste. So that was dance music, and then I found my taste in the latter years of my DJing, like 1980, 82. I found myself really bringing the beat down and getting very attracted to funk
Yeah,
and deep R&B
yeah.
music with a low beat, really funky sound, and that's where my love was. And
Nice.
that's where I really found myself. So my sets, I attracted a very local crowd. It was a very downbeat, groovy, funky, environment when I spun. So
Nice.
I really got into that's where I really discovered black music heavy.
Okay.
And so then, uh, as life would have it, I knew I wanted to get into the industry, so I knew it was time to go back to New York to go home.
Yeah, that's the
So
perfect place.
I went to Full Sail Recording Institute down in Florida. So I
Hmm.
wanted to become an engineer producer. So I started to apply to companies up in New York, and I had a couple interviews. I moved back home for a bit, and I started working with Emergency Records. Shannon let the music play.
Wow. Let the
That
music
was,
play.
and the way that happened was when I came back to New York, I befriended a couple people, and I ended up becoming friends with Curtis Abina. Curtis, who and Sergio Cosa owned Emergency Records, and they hired me, and my job was, Christopher,
Mm.
this was 1983. I had just come back from Florida, and I still lived in Jersey because I lived with my mom and dad till I settled in. And I
Wow.
started working in emergency, and my job was exposing the emergency product to DJs in New York City that reported to black radio like BLS and KTU.
Wow.
That was my first job. So, what I would do is I'd be the first one to bring the records to the clubs. I'd be myself and Curtis. I'd be the first one exposing it to the record pools, to the top Billboard reporting jocks, and then I'd go to New York radio on Wednesday days. Bringing the product there,
Wow.
and then so that was that. That was how you know, that was my first job in the industry. And then in 1983 and a half, 84, I met Stephen Rifkin,
Steve
and
Rifkin. Now, Rich,
Steve, yeah,
but
and
for
this is
those
like.
who don't know who Steve Rifkin is, because a lot of
No,
us might not
this,
know, tell them who Steve Rifkin is.
Steven, I'm sure everybody knows Steven owns Loud Records, founded the Wu-Tang Gang, Big Pun, 3 6 Mafia. Steve is now considered one of the greatest hip hop, rap music executives of all time. But anyway, we weren't always like that. It goes back. Everybody has a story,
Steve, I hope you're watching this.
So in '84, Steve and I got together. I don't know how. I think we were at a convention in D.C. and we just started talking. Everybody else was doing their thing, and we just became very, very close. And at that time, his father and his uncle, they were big record people in the '70s and '80s with Spring Records, Millie Jackson, Joe Simon, Fatback Band, those great real R&B acts.
Yeah.
And Stephen worked for his father at the time. He was very young. We were both in our. I'm 4 years older than Stephen, so I was in my late 20s. I was in his like 22, 23. We worked for his father. I
Mm.
did marketing, and that's where I really, learned the business. And because when you're with a small independent label,
Right.
you learn how to do everything.
Yeah,
So
your hands on.
I gravitated towards the retail side, the retail distributors by selling the record to the distributors. The distributors speaking to the mom and pop stores, the stores, that start the new music and play the new music before you got it into the big chains, the mass merchandisers. So
Wow.
you know, I got into it through retail, and then in 1986, when I was at Spring, I noticed that everybody was catering to the big store. Nobody was catering or speaking to the black independent mom and pop stores. And I learned about those guys through my job at Spring Records. getting out the true, R&B music like Millie, Joe, and so I really plugged into that. So in 1986, I discovered a niche. I knew there was something that was lacking out there in the marketplace that would really help the development of rap, hip hop, and the black music scene coming. The strong, black music surge that was about to hit.
Wow.
And so what I did was I went out on my own
Hmm.
and I rounded up probably about 500 to 600 of these independent mom and pop stores around the country.
Nice.
These were black independent music stores in the urban areas, not in the burbs or, these were stores that were boom right there in the forefront of everything.
Mm.
And what's special, and they had to have value. And it turned out the stores that I worked with are also stores that reported their sales to Billboard magazine.
Nice.
So they were very influential stores, and I picked those on purpose because I knew that that would be valuable information to the record labels. So, what I did with these stores is I set deals up with them,
Mm.
and I created these point of sale pieces right by the register and started 99-cent counter sales to affect that impulse buy while breaking new music. So,
Wow.
uh, my company was called Best Performances.
Mm.
This is before Frontier was called Best Performances, and we had this network of independent stores, and we had real estate on every counter in every store. That was our deal with the stores. We said, if you give us real estate and let us put our product right there by your register, guaranteed, we'll then introduce you to the record labels and open up your relationships with them. And it was amazing because every rap record that came out, I would say oh boy, from 1987 to 1996, every rap record, every hip hop piece of music that came out went through our stores, went to our stores, because these stores were the buzz stores, the indicators, where you got the new music started. That's where we broke Outkast. That's where we broke, Usher out of those stores,
Wow.
in the market, where people know it. So I
Wow.
discovered this thing. I had this great business. So record labels would pay, like maybe I'd have 15, 20, 25 record labels, all using my services to get into my box to get their new music out to the consumer.
Oh, that's quite amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
because I remember walking in the stores and I would always see those particular boxes up front, but never realized
yeah,
that's what you was doing. That was
that's
pretty innovative. You said Usher and Outkast. Did you know Vanessa Barrier?
uh, did she work for Arista
Yeah, she's worked
or
for
LaFace?
Arista. Yeah, she
She was
was.
out of Atlanta.
No, she was the VP for marketing promotions for the Southwest region, and then eventually she became the president of marketing promotion for the Arista with Clive Davis.
Did she work out of New York, or did she work out of?
She was in Dallas at first, out of Plano, and then she went up to New York.
I see. I've heard of her. I didn't know her by the time she hit New York.
That was my godmother.
Really? Are you serious?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
So I was there
That makes
historic.
sense. That
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. I was there when Outkast first came to Dallas and Usher, because Usher Raymond's mother Janetta was my manager when I was signed as an artist on Ruthless.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
crazy, right?
That's right. That's
That's
right.
crazy
That's
world.
right.
So now, Rich. Now, obviously, you was ahead of the curve. You saw a niche that says a lot about you and the way that you think creatively and from a business standpoint. We're going to touch just a little bit on digital now with that particular time frame. Now, if you had digital marketing and social media at that time, would you think that it would have been more effective then, or you think that now what they're doing with the way that they're promoting and marketing online is a little bit faster to get into the hands of the consumer and to the marketplace?
Well, I think it can work both ways. Uh, Years ago,
Hmm.
there were only a certain amount of ways to get the word out. You didn't have all the forms of media as you have today.
Wow.
So it was a whole different age. You knew you had to have radio. The stores were there. There was video exposure. There was guerrilla marketing in the market, one on one with the people.
Mm.
But now it's completely different. With the digital age, because it becomes global reach, and you're
Yes.
reaching so many different people across the world in so many different ways. And so, in effect, it's opened it up more. But I think I think the hard part of it is it's harder to find because there's so many on it.
Right.
So that makes it difficult to find your spot and for the people to find you in your spot.
Right.
Whereas years ago, there you can get more exposure in less places. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I think that's where it's different. But when I left the music industry in 2006 and segued into executive search, which I do now,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I say thank goodness the digital we're at where we're at now, digital wise, where we are technically, and how advanced we are, because it only helps what I do.
Now I'm glad you said that because it seems like the way you came up with the hustle and hands on. It kind of prepared you and propelled you for the next testimony, so to speak, in your life,
Yeah,
which was you moving more to the executive search.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
a guy that comes from the industry, now you're doing architecture and mechanical construction.
yeah.
When did you
How did I
decide?
get there?
Yeah, when did you decide to go
Yeah.
into RK Wyman and Associates, and what made you? I mean, because music
Well,
industry,
it's
and you kind
look
of
at when I left the industry in 2005.
did you get married or something, or what happened?
Well, no, I was married. No, what happened was, now think about it. Technology antiquated me.
Right.
I was brick and mortar. I was retail. I was record stores. I
Yes.
was Barnes and Noble. I was Circuit City. I was that end of it. And then digital, when digital really hit in
Mm-hmm.
92, 93 with Napster, downloading, piracy,
Mm-hmm.
it changed the music industry forever.
Yes, it did.
It changed it forever. That was it. It could never be the same. When I went home and saw my daughter pulling up free music, and I'm like going, you can't do that in this house. Your dad worked, the genie was out of the bottle. I
Yes.
knew we were into a different time,
Wow.
so I was saying to myself, oh my God, what do I do? Because it's a very hard transition to go from the music industry into corporate America.
Yes, it
It
is.
just doesn't translate well. It's almost like the music industry is something different onto itself.
Yes, it is.
So you ever notice that? So I was saying, oh my God, I have to find another career. What am I going to do with this? I've been in this business 20, 25 years, and
Wow.
so I noticed that executive search, uh, recruiting people for companies is similar, because why? I'm developing my own business, and two, it's about people relationships.
Yes.
And so, instead of selling CDs, I'm selling intellectual property, if you will.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in 2006, you formed R&K Wyman and Associates.
No, in 2006. Oh, great question, great question. So, see that I jumped, and now I have to step back because of your question. That's good. Uh, what happened was, I knew I wanted to do search.
Okay.
So I found a mentor, a lady who did it independently out of the corner of her house, but she did it for the big banks like J.P. Morgan, Bear
Mm.
Stearns. She was pretty intense, Penn
Wow.
State graduate. So I became friends with her through a family friend, and I would go there for 6 months every single day, a 2-hour ride each way, free of charge, never asking for a dime, just teach me. And
Mm.
after 6 months, I really got a handle for what it was. And then I said, okay, I'm ready to go find a job. And my wife at the time wanted to move to Asheville, North Carolina,
Okay.
and I said, okay, what the heck? I'm making a change. I'm starting over. I've been in New York my whole life. Let's try North Carolina. So on a lark, I Googled up executive search Asheville, North Carolina,
Okay.
and then popped Kimmel and Associates, and Kimmel and Associates is the oldest and largest search firm in the country
Wow.
working in construction.
Nice. So you saw
So
so you saw a niche right there and a need for.
right.
Okay. Awesome.
So I knocked on their door. I said, "Hey, this is what I do. I only have limited experience, but this is what I did in my past life. I was very successful in the music industry, yada yada yada." And then I just they hired me, and I moved the family to North Carolina,
Wow.
and then worked for Kimmel and Associates up until Christmas 2013.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife today and we relocated back north in March of 2014, and that's when I launched RK Weinman and Associates.
Now, speaking of Kimmel and Associates, when you first went, I think you grossed how much that first year for them, or you did some phenomenal
What I did
numbers.
when I got there, they said, "Well, what do you want to do here?" And I said, "I want to do something that will be very successful for me and for the company. Where would you like me to start?" And they always wanted to launch an architecture division there,
Okay.
working with the architects. And so they said, "Would you like to do that?" And I said, "Sure, I'll do that." And I launched the architecture division at Kimmel. And my first year, I wrote, I think, close to $400,000 worth of searches.
Wow.
So I really, it
Wow.
was my first year in the new career, and that's when I knew I could do this. I could do it.
So now, a guy comes from your background, working with people like Mark Wahlberg,
Right,
Tupac, Queen
right,
Latifah.
right.
All of a sudden, now you into Kimberly and Associates. You're doing
right.
architecture, construction. I mean, is it? Would you say it's the hustle that makes you good, Rich? Or
Well, keep in mind, I miss the music industry. Every day, I'm asking my wife or I'm asking a friend, "Can I get back in?" And they all tell me, "Stay away, forget it." But I still miss that. But I just, here it is. Here it is at the end of the day.
Mhm.
This is the formula. And if you have this in your personal life, and if you have this in your business life, you're going to be fine. You know, uh, it's about the culture. It's about the way you get along with people.
Yes,
At
yes.
the end of the day, it's humans getting along with humans. And, you know, if you have that right chemistry where you trust people and they trust you,
Hmm.
that you appreciate people and you are appreciated for the job you do, as well as people having faith in you, if if you have those things going back and forth, uh, that's how you'll be successful in life and in business. And I think I've really clued into that.
Mm,
And, I could see beyond the resume. I can hear what people are not saying. And I think that's what really makes an effective recruiter.
nice. And plus, like you say, it's people person. It seems that you've been a people person since day one. And
Yeah.
one of the rule of thumbs when it comes to sales is if they like you, they buy from you.
100%. We both know that, Chris. We both know that.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
another thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was before we fast forward into what's going on with you now.
Mhm.
Now, I still think there's a need for executives like yourself now in the entertainment business because of what you're doing currently. I think a lot of consultation, should be warranted by guys like you because you work with people like Steve Corbin, who's a
Yeah.
mentor of mine.
Yeah.
I just think there's still a niche, and I think that you still should, at least write a book about it. You ever thought about writing a book or anything?
No, not really. But you know what? I always feel, and I still feel, I can be a very effective executive in the music industry.
Yeah.
Because I look at it this way: I have the background and the history and the past knowledge, and now I have the ability to lead people, and
Hmm.
I know how that. I know I'm an expert in the human condition, and I know how to move people towards a common goal, and I think I could be very valuable to a record label or some entity within the music industry. But I'm happy where I am.
Of
Uh,
course, but you just like myself, I'm still geared around it, and I believe that now more so that it's a little bit easier for us now because of digital marketing and social media, and that we still can be effective and still do what we love to do, you know. So
oh yeah,
what I'm gonna
yeah,
do now is we're gonna take a quick little commercial break, and
yeah.
we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about what's going on with you now, and we're gonna talk about
Okay,
what you're doing with thinking ahead.
okay.
Is that
Thank you.
okay? So right now, everybody, we're gonna take a little break, and we're gonna come back with Rich Weinman, one of the greatest to do it. All right, and we're talking digital with Dallas Digital Marketing Talk. All right, this is your host, Christopher Williams, Celebrity Brand Manager and Digital Marketing Facilitator on Dallas Digital Marketing Talk. Today we are talking to Rich Weinman, industry icon and CEO mogul of construction and architecture executive search. So, right now we're going to talk to Rich a little bit about what he's doing now as far as thinking ahead and how did that merger become and what is new on the horizon for him going into the end of 2016 into the 2017 era and how he uses digital marketing and social media as a platform to engage with those that are out there looking to become a part of what he is doing. Rich, so tell me something. How are you doing as far as like digital marketing? I notice you're on LinkedIn, and I see a lot of things. Are you guys using a lot of paid search to recruit, or mostly SEO, SEM, or anything like that?
You're asking what are we doing digitally or
Yes, digitally. How what
okay.
do you guys?
Well, it's very important. We have as recruiters it's very important we have as many digital partners
Mm-hmm,
and business associates that utilize social media platforms and very similar portals.
mm-hmm.
Because for us, it's about identifying untapped intellectual property, right?
Right.
We're about the search.
Yes.
We have to find great talent for our clients. And the way we work is we'll have let's say a big general contractor, a mechanical contractor, a developer, an owner come to us and say, okay, we're building a hospital in Washington, D.C., and we need to hire a project manager to run that project.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an upper level executive. We'll then get that search, and we will say to them, if we find this individual that you're looking for, then you'll sign an agreement now that'll give us a commission off that search.
Mm.
That's the nature of what I do. I'm hired by companies, mechanical contractors, and architecture firms to bring in new talent.
Wow.
And so we're about research. And right now we're in a very good market where things are very busy. People are working. There aren't that many people on the bench, at least in construction, and what I specialize in. And so to find that right person, we need many avenues of we need to find them in many different places. Whether we're using Indeed, whether we're using LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm,
whether we're using different codes
mm-hmm,
through Google, through different various search engines.
mm-hmm.
It's very important we overturn every stone in an effort to find the greatest people out there for
Now,
our clients.
now, are you guys spending money with ad companies to create this for you as well? Like, because I know a budget like that should have to be overwhelming on a month-to-month basis, especially when you're trying to recruit constantly, not only
Right,
just locally,
right.
but you guys are globally. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that I'll tell you what, that's one of the benefits of what is going now with RK Weinman being merged into Thinking Ahead,
Mm-hmm.
because Thinking Ahead is part of a very large corporation, and they have that funding, and they come from that financial platform that's really solvent.
Okay.
So when we have to promote and we have to, buy programs and attend different conferences and tutorials,
Okay.
we have the money to do that, and they can do that. Whereas being on my own, I would get it done, but I'd have to be very selective in what I spent my money on
Yeah.
and what I choose to plug into or not. I mean, for example, there are many different levels of LinkedIn, and
Yes.
in my effort to find the right people, I have to sometimes go above the basic programs, and that costs money.
Yeah.
So yeah, the company that I'm with now, we have the luxury of being able to spend that kind of money.
Awesome. Yeah, it's amazing now, that you can actually do the resumes are different now, the way that you find your talent. So, now talent is easily as people are doing streaming videos do you accept streaming videos for resumes now, or is it strictly just the resume? I mean, what are some of the newer things that a lot of these newer thinkers are doing as far as resumes? Because I've seen resumes where they actually have a resume and it's a video resume. I mean, you know, I look for different things when it comes to talent, and of course, you want
Yeah,
to find those superstars. You want to put those right people in the right places. I
sure.
mean, what makes a superstar? Like, what gets Rich Wyman's attention that makes you want to recruit it? Is it just because this person has the different accolades, or is it because this person just something about him? Is it a feeling? I mean, elaborate
Well,
on that.
that's a very good question because you say to yourself, well, what makes an individual valuable to a company? There are so many things that go into being the best employee or best owner there is to be.
Hmm.
Uh, and for example, I really believe you can never respect. You should never confuse activity with achievement.
Okay.
For example, just because you're a hard worker doesn't mean you have the skill set to finish the deal, to close the deal, to make it happen. So when I look for a person, especially to work for me, and somebody that I think would be best for my company, I look for a person that has that skill, has the skill to actually close
Mm.
and to take it to the finish line.
Always
Because
close.
for us, what is the finish line? The finish line is placement,
Okay.
is getting somebody hired for the job order that you were looking to fill, filling that job order. So I need a person that not only works hard, but that works with purpose and really is targeted and focused on creating the results and staying within the metrics of what it takes to be successful, to have that skill to finish.
So in reality, you still are a record executive, like you said. You just do people search and there's still development and looking for the right person to put on the job.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
person has to be the right person to go in there and handle whatever it is that company is looking for, and that takes a talent. You just can't put
sure.
any old body up in there and just expect for them to do that job. And because not only is it your name on it, it's a lot of other people named associated with it.
And you have to find people where where there's very little ego involved in their personality, who believe in team play and learning from others and working with others and just being good to be around. It's not, and I think in this day and age you just have to you have to put people together that know their jobs, that
Hmm.
specialize in what they do, and everybody without micromanaging, just accomplishing the goals.
Nice. Now we
Yeah.
just had the election. We have a new president. I don't like to talk politics too much, but the economy is getting ready to go into a whole new era. I believe that the field that you're in right now is going to rapidly increase because of the growth in
Yeah.
technology and also just the growth in America. Period.
Yeah.
Are you starting to see a higher demand now because of where we're going into the 2017 year and the new
Well,
presidency?
I'll tell you, number one, I'm glad it's over. I'm sure
Yeah.
everybody out there is, because it was crazy with those two.
Yeah, yeah,
But
it was a dogfight.
you know, but in construction is the second largest employer in the country
Hmm.
next to the government. So
Wow.
it's a huge industry. Right now, things are pretty good, but I believe with him in there, and he can really get things going
Hmm.
and get that infrastructure moving, and continuing to grow and building and growing the Rust Belt, bringing jobs back, bringing manufacturing back. It will look unbelievable for my business, for my industry.
That's the thing I love about my job when I get a chance to interview a lot of the great ones from the era that you guys come from,
Hmm.
and seeing how all of you guys are still staying relevant, and you're
Yeah.
relevant through change for the better. And it
Uh,
seems like guys like you guys are able to always be in a position by faith to be able
yeah,
to
yeah,
always be into the now. I mean, just like I say, with the change, it's like you're still in the now. I mean, if I had to bet on anybody, I would bet on Rich Ryman any day because who knows what's going to happen next year, what you're going to be into
uh,
because of technology, and
yeah,
especially with the growth of space technology, that still
right.
has a hand in what you're doing as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's growing, and you have to be on top of it, and you have to surround yourself with great people
Yeah.
and folks that can see that change, sometimes know it even better than you, so they can teach you.
Yeah, I'm just amazed of the place that you're in right now, because when I really think about what you're doing, in the dynamics of you being able to recruit and search for the right executives, I mean,
Mhm.
it's really it's really a great job. It's really a great.
Well, it's a very tough job. It's a very hard job because you're dealing with human beings,
Of course,
and
attitudes.
it's not easy. It's not easy introducing people to a new situation and framing it in a way where everybody's going to get along and people take chances with other people
Hmm.
because it's you're talking families, you're talking careers, and it's not easy, but I love it, because it deals with people. Like I love the music industry, it's I just love working with people and having those relationships and being appreciated and me having faith in people as well as them having faith in me.
Now, the music industry is doing a lot of streaming now. Right now, we're streaming. I mean, did you ever think that we would come to a time where streaming would be something like, well, I can just have you Skype in and we can have the whole world watching us overseas, no matter where they are via internet? Like right now, what is? I mean, you don't really even need a TV no more. TV is streaming now, so it's just like I was saying. Like I
It's
think that,
unbelievable.
yeah, I think that as far as some of the people that you've worked with, some of the most influential people that you worked with. Tell me, how was it when you worked with Tupac? Because he has a new movie getting ready to come out about his life, and I know you've had some dealings with him. What was
Yeah.
that? What was that like, and how was that?
Yeah, that was a pretty special. And I'll tell you, I met him a few times, but one day we actually got to spend the whole day together, working together, and it was a very cool experience because he's that guy. You know, he was a great actor. He's a great poet. His family pedigree is amazing. You know who his mother is, right?
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So he has great heritage, very educated, very articulate. He was an amazing guy to hang around with that day, and he was very humble. And the reason we had offices in New York City and Manhattan, and we did a lot of work for Interscope Records,
Okay.
going back to Gerardo, Rico Suave, and just we were their independent go-to marketing company when they first launched, before Eminem, before the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
So, excuse me.
Hmm. Hmm.
They signed Tupac, and back then, there were two predominant rappers on the West Coast. Oh, I got a tickle in my throat.
Oh, go ahead. Take
Oh,
your time.
oh. Ooh, I'm sorry. There were two predominant rappers on the West Coast at the time.
Tone low.
Ice, well, no, Ice Cube and Ice T,
Okay.
and at that time, Pac was considered pretty soft. He had just come out with Brenda's Baby.
Yeah.
They was because he's a poet.
Yeah.
He was writing heavy stuff, and he was putting it to beat, and his beat wasn't. They didn't look at it as strong as Cuban T at the time.
Right.
So he really had to get on the road
Hmm.
and travel with his label and meet the stores, meet the promotion people, really get out there. And we were doing all the work for him.
You need to go get some water.
I'm live though. I feel bad.
No, you good. This is live and direct. This is how we do it on Dallas Digital Marketing Talk.
Okay, hold on.
Yes, we're gonna take a water break real quick, and we're gonna come right back with Rich Weinman.
So I stepped away. No. I'm good. Yeah. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm good.
All right, we're back with Rich Weinman.
I'm back. Thank you. I
Oh, no worries.
apologize. Am I there?
Yes, you're here. No worries.
Okay, so
We want to make sure we get this extraordinary story from Rich Wyman.
okay.
We don't
Well,
want you
anyway,
to.
he was traveling the country with his record label,
Uh huh.
and because we had exposed his music to the for the first time to the independent R&B stores. Uh, he was in our office all day calling the stores, thanking them for the support.
Wow. See, people don't even know that.
And so he's calling the stores. Imagine getting a call from Tupac. It was amazing. And that day, he was just a nice guy. We all got along, laughing, smiling, and just really enjoying ourselves. And we ate some lunch. We ordered lunch up for him, and it was just a great time, and I'll never forget it.
Well, have you had an opportunity? Tell me about your days when you was working with, because I saw a lot of people that chimed in once I posted it from like Sony. You have a lot of friends that really
Right.
respect you. They're probably watching
Thank you.
now. How was it working? Because you had a label, right? And you ran it through Loud. Am
Yes,
I correct?
yes. I had
Because I saw you with.
for a brief moment. I will say, Stephen. Stephen Rifkin at the time, who was Loud Records, had his deal through Sony.
Mhm.
The concept was that I would start a record label, and of course, that A&R and find my music through my network of stores, and then when I put it out, I would run it back through the network of stores, breaking it and promoting it.
Nice,
And so that was the concept of the record label, and
nice.
we we had 4 or 5 releases, and probably the one that did the best was the Fat Cat Click out of Philadelphia.
Yeah,
The song "Fabulous." It went.
the Fat
We had a
Cat.
top 10 rap single. We
Wow.
The single went top 10, and but that was it. But I'll tell you the truth, it was a great experience, Christopher. But I probably didn't have the A&R chops like I needed to have to really be successful at the record label.
Yes.
So we had a couple tries at it. We did it for about a year or two,
Hmm.
and we sort of quietly put it to bed.
Well, now that you're a construction, mechanical construction and architecture guru, so to speak,
Right.
um, how long have you been married, and do you have kids now?
Well, I was married for 22 years, and now I've been married to my beautiful my beautiful wife now, Holly,
Hey,
and
Holly.
it was great. I was so lucky and fortunate to find, to fall in love again, and find another person that I think I could spend that I'm going to spend my life with. But I have 2 children.
Hmm.
One is 26 years old, and she's a girl, and I have a 19-year-old boy.
Okay. Is
And
does the
my
apple fall from the tree? I mean, are they doing any music, or are they,
Well, it's funny because my daughter graduated at NC State. She went to school at NC State down in North Carolina. And when she got out of school, her first job, she was the executive assistant to Bob Morelli, the president of Red Distribution.
Wow.
So she came out of school and came into the industry, and I was so proud. I'm like, all right, second generation Weinman, da da da. 2 years later, she comes to me. She goes, Dad, I'm leaving the business. I want to go into integrated nutrition. So
Well, that's
she's like,
cool.
she went back to school a little bit, and now she's very much into healthy living, nutrition, and all that stuff. And she's really doing something she's enjoying.
That'll work.
So the music industry wasn't for her.
Yeah, but to come and work for Red Distribution, and
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
huge. I mean, just I need that on my resume. Just that one job would have just did it
She
for
did it
me.
for 2 years, and then she left.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what about your son? Is he doing anything of that nature, or he just
It's interesting seeing his. Shane. She liked a variety of music. She liked all the music. But Elijah, he's a freshman at Appalachian State in Boone, North Carolina.
hmm
He listens to grimy, grimy hip hop, rap. I mean, like St. Louis,
Yep.
Houston. That down. Not commercial rap. I turned him on to a few of the classics. He's okay, but that's what he's into now.
Now, jumping back into thinking ahead. Now, thinking ahead. that's a subsidiary or a merger between R&K Weinman. Is this
Yeah,
right? And where are they based out of?
they're out of Nashville, Tennessee.
How long have they been around?
They've been around. They've been around 35 years.
And
And Thinking Ahead is part of the $300 million Southwest American company. Southwest American. If you remember when you were a kid, there may have been a college kid coming around selling books in the summer,
mm,
door to door.
yeah, I do
Anyway, this
remember.
is what this company does, and they've been doing it since selling Bibles on the battlefield of the Civil War. They've been
Yeah,
around for years. Like, I think they've been around, well, they've been around 150 years.
wow.
And they own Thinking Ahead. So Thinking Ahead's been around about 35 years. They're the largest executive search firm in Tennessee.
And did they find you or did you find them?
Well, it was interesting how that came together. Uh, I launched RK Wyman and Associates in 2014,
Hmm.
and I had a little office space in right inside of Allentown, around Allentown, and I was doing pretty well. I was at it for about a year and a half, and I was very visible on LinkedIn. Hello, social media, right?
Yeah,
And LinkedIn I look at as like the Facebook of business,
yes, it
business to
is.
business.
Yes.
And so I'm on LinkedIn. I'm very visible on LinkedIn. If you go to my profile, I have an all-star profile. I really believe it attracts good business to have a good profile. So from a social media standpoint, that's one of the ways I use digital media. And so I got a call one day from an independent venture capitalist,
Hmm.
a funding company, and they said, "Hey, we see what you got going on. We want to know, what's your vision for growth? Where do you want to take the company?
Mm.
How are you doing now?" And we got engaged in this conversation, and I said, I go, listen, I want to, I'm doing pretty good now. I've really started this business. I have roots, and I eventually want to grow it, and I want to expand, and I want to, bring in new people,
Hmm.
as well as I want to start this same business model that we have here. I want to start doing that all around the country, in different parts of the country. And so they were looking to invest in a company like mine.
Hmm.
So they said, okay, we're going to find you a partner. We're going to find you a much larger company where we can merge you into their company, and they can finance your growth, and you can grow together.
So it's almost like having a label deal.
In a way, yes, as an independent label, having a major label deal, correct. So about Christmas time last year, the capitalists came to me. They said, "Hey, listen, we want you to talk to the president of Thinking Ahead. His name is Greg Boucher.
Hmm.
See if you guys have a synergy and maybe they can be a good partner for you." So around Christmas time, well, December of last year, Thinking Ahead and RK Wyman were in discussions back and forth, and then around Christmas uh, last year, we merged my company into their company, and they pay for all my overhead. They finance the growth of the employees that I hire,
Mm.
uh, the healthcare benefits. They have stock
Nice.
options. It's uh, and I still get a pretty nice salary. Plus, I get my commissions. So this was a good fit for me.
Yes. Yes.
And plus, it was a win-win for both companies because I brought them something that they never had,
Yeah.
and that was mechanical construction and architecture. They didn't have those divisions, and I was able to bring those divisions into the company. And so here we are. I'm in Allentown, and where we've hired 3 people already, and they're sticking to their word, and we're growing together.
Yeah. I see big things for you in the future, especially with the growth of technology and your reach, and you a people's person able to put those particular. Now, are you when it comes to like the jobs that you get for the clients that are there like say for example, what if I was over in London? Would that be something that you could facilitate from your company? And
Absolutely, absolutely. I've worked on the international level.
mhm.
Thinking Ahead is just now dabbling into worldwide search,
Nice.
but it's very doable because you think, well, how am I going to search or hunt people outside the country when you're talking different languages, different lifestyles, different, just the way they move around is differently. But really, English is an international language, and usually when you're speaking to companies abroad or you're speaking to people that you have to reach, English is spoken.
Me being a brand manager, you just made like what you just said. What you just said, it just made me go on a creative tangent to where I saw where it was a better niche to increase productivity with search, especially with the different languages, different verticals and various,
Right,
and being
right.
able to utilize the internet to do that. I mean,
Yeah,
right now you said you just hired on three, but what I see the brand expanding with digital marketing. I believe that across the board, if you do the right campaign to reach the
mhm,
right people at a bigger market share as far as like diversity, I'm thinking that you actually are on the cutting edge of becoming one of the best in search when it comes to dealing with your niche in that field. I really see it, and it just takes a little bit of ad spend. Because if I'm someone in China or if I'm someone in Africa or London,
mhm.
and if you have access at all of them, that expands not only the search for
Right,
those, but
right.
that expands the opportunity to do more business with other major companies
Sure,
on a global
sure,
scale.
sure. And a lot of these companies are global, and they have locations all around the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
So you can have one large company that needs somebody in the UK, and then turn around and say they need to fill a position in San Paulo.
Yeah, I see
You
you
know,
becoming a
uh,
billionaire and selling real quick. It's right there.
yeah.
You just got to do the right type of a campaign, and that's why you need to come talk to me about that. I'm a celebrity brand manager, man, and digital marketing facilitator.
I'll
I,
teach you a little bit of mine.
look,
You help me with yours, and
I
we'll
got
get
you
some money.
because I've already seen it. Look, let's get some money because I just seen where you can expand that brand, and
Yeah.
instead of bringing in 10 a week, we're bringing in 100 a week, and,
But
and
I
play
first have to
and,
get,
and place them
before I do my job, I first have to be hired to do my job.
exactly.
So it's going to take me to market and promote and get my name and get my brand out there worldwide.
And that's
So
not a problem, sir. That's the reason why
yeah,
you. That's the reason why I have you on the show because you are a brand, and someone of your creative thinking needs to be on that platform. It just takes a
I
little bit
will.
of spin.
I'll get there.
It
We're
just,
just
you
we're
just.
just figuring it out now, so we'll get there.
Well, I got you, man, and let's do it. I'm the type of
Okay.
guy. You know me. I'm gonna call you and email you and text you, say, hey,
Uh,
hey, Rich, let's do it. Let's do it. It
okay.
doesn't
Well,
take much.
now you know what I need.
Okay. Well, look, we want you to go ahead because we're coming to the close of the show, but about 5 more minutes, and I want you to go ahead and shout out to some friends that might be watching.
Okay.
Say your last goodbyes, because this has been an absolute honor and a pleasure just to talk with you. So go ahead and do your shout out, sir.
Well, thanks for all tuning in. I want to thank, of course, my friends, my family, of course, and my new friends, my new listening and viewers who are watching this or are going to hear about this. Uh, Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and I look forward to coming back very soon.
Cool. What can they find
Peace
you at?
all.
What can they find you at on Facebook, social media,
Uh,
LinkedIn?
you can find me on LinkedIn, RICHWEINMAN.
Hmm.
You can find me on Facebook. You can just Google my name. You can find me there. I'm all over social media. I'm all over digital. If you want to check us out on our website, it's www.thinkingahead.com. That's thinkingahead.com. If you want to send me a personal email, you could do that. You could send it to rich at rkweinmanassociates.com. And I'm there. And if you want to call me personally about business, we could talk about anything. 615-391-2802. And that's it. Thank you,
Yes,
Christopher.
sir. We appreciate you. And ladies and gentlemen, this wraps up another edition of Dallas Digital Marketing Talk. We want to thank music industry icon, founder of Frontier Entertainment Group, also RK Weinman Associates Discoverer, and Thinking Ahead merging, going forth in the 2016-2017 era. We want to wish them much luck for their search. Rich Weinman, thank you so much for joining the show. God
Thank you,
bless
Chris.
you, and I'll talk to you soon. And you just talk
Talk to you.
digital with Rich Weinman on
Thank,
Dallas Digital Marketing Talk.
thank you, folks. Thank you.